Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hello! I can't believe it was as easy as I found another button to press. Hello, everybody. So sorry we're running late. We've actually gone over to Restream, and as you can see, we're running a bit late today. But thank you, Warwick, for hanging in there. I can't believe it was as easy as pressing that one button. I obviously haven't worked out how to change the background, so apologies if everybody can see the green screen and the soundboard behind me today, but that's all good. It's all part of doing this live and obviously having fun as we go. So, Warwick, so welcome to the show today. So pleased to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I love the fact that we're in the raw, so to speak, because you're getting to see the behind the scenes. And this is what happens. And I've got to say, the very first message that I'd say to people is to do exactly what you're doing is give it a crack, have a go. So many people sit back and go, what if I press the wrong button? What if it goes wrong? Oh, so today we've started with a pretty picture of a blue screen with some dots on it. And then there was sort of a sudden, well, here we are, but it's just like, you've got to give stuff a go. And it's the only way to get better. My first online sessions and first live streams were absolute rubbish compared to the latest ones. So, and hey, Deborah, great to see you. Thanks for joining us from Arizona. But yeah, so it is about just getting started and having a crack at these things.
It is. And thank you for being so patient and telling me press this button and that button before we got even to this point. But as you can see, I failed the background button test.
It's all good.
It's great. And so, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mindset Michele TV show, where it's literally live. So you do get to see what works and what doesn't work, and everything is perfectly fine. And today's extra special guest is the king of online presenting. So this is the perfect place for me to make these kinds of mistakes because I can find out how to fix them from the amazing Warwick Merry. Hello, Warwick.
Thank you so much for having me here.
It's been great. So, and welcome to people tuning in. We have extra channels going today. So that's, again, why there's a little bit more technical stuff going on. But let me tell you about my guest, Warwick Merry. Warwick is a certified virtual speaker and a certified professional speaker, and that means that he can do both face-to-face and in person and online like we are today. And he's been doing this for over 20 years, which is quite a long time to be presenting and speaking to people. So, Warwick, do you want to let people know a little bit more about your journey to how you became a speaker and what is important to you as a speaker?
Look, to talk about my speaking journey, I need to take a little step back. And that is that I spent 10 years in the IT industry. So I was working for companies like EDS, Electronic Data Systems, who did a lot of IT work for Uncle Toby's, General Motors Holden, Telstra, Virgin Airlines, Mark II, if you might remember them. And then I was working at Oracle. And I was good at IT, and it was okay, and there was good money, but I just wasn't getting that sort of hit. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And I spent a lot of time considering, what do I want to be when I grow up? And my partner at the time came home from a conference and talked about this thing called an online, talked about professional speakers. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I love the idea of having a big audience and sharing something that they want to hear. And I want to do that. I've got no idea what I want to talk about. So it's 1999. I'm in IT. What am I going to talk about? Y2K. And so I joined up to the Professional Association. I'm a big believer. And I volunteered to speak for 5 minutes on Y2K. I had someone come up to me afterwards and say, hey, you're really good. I need someone to run my training courses and you can do your speaking stuff on the side. And so that's what I did. And it gave me the opportunity to leave IT, start my own business and grow from there. So that was in 1999. And things have flexed and changed. And probably about 10 years ago, I'd been told from the very beginning, niching is very good. Know everything about the one thing. And I was too scared to do it because I thought, well, what about all these customers that I currently don't have but think I could, And so I niched down to emceeing because it's what I love to do. It's what I'm quite good at. I like to think. And so, yeah, that's what I did. Now, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I started using a GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, probably the last 4 years ago, I started using Zoom. So when we hit to the start of our global pandemic where everything shut down, I was pretty well entrenched, but I just thought now's the time to really get into it. And so I just went deep into Zoom. And as I learned stuff, I shared it with a lot of my speaker friends because I knew we were all in the same boat, and then developed this reputation as someone who knew how to use Zoom quite well. And now as a host, there's been a big demand for that better engagement because camera work is so different than face-to-face. It's a different approach. And a lot of people who would do face-to-face really struggled with the camera, struggled with looking at themselves and listening to themselves, getting what tech do I need and what's too much and what's too little. And so, that's sort of how it all came. There's 20 plus years in 3 minutes.
And I'm sure you have like a minute's version of that as well, because you've been so good at sharing your story over all these years. And it's incredible, really, how people have evolved and what niches have especially come out through COVID at the moment, as people, especially in our industries, have had to re-niche and rethink about what they do. Out of all of that different experience in IT and through speaking and training and everything, what do you think you now describe or think of as being what success means to you? What does success in your life mean to you now?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, and interesting that I ran a podcast for about 5 years called the Get More Success Show. It's still out there, and there's some great interviews where I interviewed people from all walks of life talking about how do they define success. And part of it was I was looking for what they found was success, so I could look at what I think is success as well. And it's really shifted over the years, and I have a lot of my focus now is contentment. So for me to be successful is to be content with what you're doing. And so for me, I love hosting the online stuff. I'm not a big fan of the marketing and the selling and stuff, but I do it because I like the event, right? And so for me, successful is, and I'll say this to my clients up front, it's a sales strategy that I've been using for years, is my focus is to do this so well that you invite me to do it again next time. And I've had clients that I've been hosting their events for 10 years and continue to and one of my biggest compliments is when people come up and say, oh, we thought you worked for us, because I use their language, I'm so entrenched in it. And so for me, it's like, yeah, if I can do that kind of stuff, that's got to be good. I've got a happy client. I get paid well for what I do. I'm able to show off and share my skills on stage or on screen. And I've got the delegates who are having a great time. They're engaged, they're energized, they're having fun. And so for me, that's important. And fun is super important for me. The Minister for Fun once said, if it's not fun, don't do it. But if you have to do it, make it fun. And I'm a big believer in that. And so everything I do is fun, even the serious government doctory kind of whatever it is events where people say, oh, no, this is very serious. Can I tell you, everyone wants to have fun. They just they're sick of serious. They want to have fun. And so, yeah, I find that works really well.
That's fabulous. And I agree. I think that we have everything going on and things that people are going through, and there's a lot of focus now on mental wellness and well-being, that having fun and delivering things in a fun way is really very much what people are looking for. And you just have to look at some of the ads about getting vaccinated from other countries like New Zealand and places where they sell those, yes, very serious messages, but they sell it in such a wonderful and fun way. And, with that background and that experience and exposure, and even for, people like me today, as I see myself and I look very different to what I normally look each week because I've lost the illusion, if you like. This is the raw and rough version of the show this week. Very real, I guess. But what would be some tips that you would share with people that as they are, presenting themselves, and it's very much about their personal branding and what they look like when they're on live. And like we were talking about, you just keep going. You just kind of talk to people about, the green thing in the back of the red, the yellow, grey thing in the back, and you just normalise it. You just talk about it as if it's meant to be there. So what would be some tips that you would share? Because we talked a lot this morning around energy, having that high energy and that enthusiasm and keeping it going when you're up to, your 6th or your 7th or your 10th Zoom meeting for the day.
It's really interesting because people talk about Zoom fatigue, and it's a thing that's come out of Zoom fatigue. And I got to tell you, I'm not a huge believer in it. Yes, there's research being done that if you're in front of screens all day, it can be tiring, whatever. When my coach, Russell Pearson, talks about being match fit, that when he first started, he struggled a little bit with the screen time, but now he'll just do day-long screen time, back to back, not a problem. And it's like with anything, you get used to it. But my thing is for presenters, and not even presenters, if you've got a team and you're a leader and you're running a team meeting, is get better. The underlying message I would have to anyone who presents on screen is get better. Now, I'm not saying that in a you're useless and you should try harder. I'm saying it as like you're probably doing okay, but just get better. And it can be just a little bit better because I've had conferences that I've hosted that have gone forever, and you'll have some speakers you're like, oh my, and you'll have others that'll talk for an hour, and you're like, God, is that an hour? Like that's just gone so quick. And it's all to do with the speaker, not the technology. Don't get me wrong, technology is great, but if you're relying on the technology and gimmicks, it speaks volumes about your content and your style. So let me just go over some of the real basics. I have what I call the Holy Trinity. And I've got a little, let's just see if this works. Oh, not quite here. I'll move it across. So if I put,
on top of your face, that's it.
There we go, we'll put it there. This is the Holy Trinity, which is just me in different outfits, as you can see. These are the three things that you have to get right. Number one is the lights. You've got to have the lighting right. Now, also, can I suggest to you, start where you are. Oh, this is a bit disconcerting not seeing my own face, but that's all right. Start where you are here. I'll just do that. There we go. Look at that. See my eyes. I'm sort of like peeking over the top here. Hello. Start where you are with your lighting. Like for me, I've got just a normal, my executive programming department's my spare bedroom. I'm going to get rid of that because that's a bit distracting. It's just a normal. I'm in my spare bedroom. It's not a super mega, studio. I have a normal light above, not a down light, but just a light which has a diffuser on it, which spreads the light out. I've got some lighting over here, some LEDs that are quite bright, but they're up and out of the road. I've got a big window here, and I've got a coloured light behind me, which helps with definition here, and this sets a bit of a scene, right? Pretty basic lighting, cost me about $100 all up to do. You could do something similar with lamps you already have, maybe spread a bit of baking paper in front of it to spread it out. If you've got those circle lights, they just, if you wear glasses, they will really put a ring around it. Sometimes you can see it in people's eyes. You'll see the ring. It's quite distracting. If you just put baking paper in front of it, it's heat resistance, and also it spreads it a little bit, makes a big difference to just get a nice diffused light there. So get that one right. The second one is, so lighting's the first one. The second one's composition.
I just wanted to add in there with the lighting. One of the things I did when I started off was as well, I got like a bedside table lamp and put that next. And all I did was move it around next to the computer. So when looking at the camera, I could see, because there's nothing worse with lighting from a window as the cloud comes over and your face goes all black.
Correct. And this is what happens. And because now it's global, I have clients in the States and Europe who I do a lot of stuff when it's night. I actually have a large light that I will stick where that window is, so I do get that light from that direction. It just lifts things a little bit. But again, use what you've got to start with. Just try. Just like as we did at the very beginning, we went, oh, hey, we're live. Here we go. It's the same. Let's try this lighting. Yep, that doesn't work. Can't use that. Oh, that works. Some people will use, they might have something in the garage, one of those work spotlights. Be careful, because sometimes they're at a certain phase that can flicker. So you can change phasing on your cameras to address that. Let's see how you go with it. So the LEDs can do flickering. So get the lighting right. It's the first thing. Second one is composition, and that is what's your shot. Now, I used to have, at the moment, we're side by side, so that's taking up a whole lot of, we're nice. It's a nice close cut. There's a button beneath this that has two bigger squares side by side, which you could press and we would zoom out a little bit. See that one? And so you can then see, so then I could then put this up and put it back over here. Well, yeah, that's great.
There it goes. Now it works.
And so you want to look at the shot, and if I look at yourself and myself, we've got our heads are pretty much centered. Because I've got that image there, I'm going to move to the one side. We're sort of towards the top of the screen. It's a nice composition. Now, I used to have a big bookshelf here, and it was loaded with books, and I'd see people sort of doing this. sort of looking at what's that book that you've got there. Now what I have is I just have this. I had plants. This is about the 9th iteration. I had some plants there, but they kept dying. I couldn't, and I just have, look, this is for me is on brand because I've got a microphone and a lot of people ask me about my Academy Award, which I won for a fancy dress party. So it's just, that's the second one, composition. And the third one's the most important. The first two are nice, but the third one you must get right. And that is sound. You've got to have the right sound. And the reason for that is if I can't quite see you, I don't care as long as I hear what you're talking about. If your lighting's a bit weird or your shot's wrong, I don't care, but I've got to hear you. But if it's crackly, if it's hard to hear, if I can't, I'm going to go, this is too hard and hang up. The secret with sound is it's not about the microphone, it's about the space. A lot of people ask me, what's the best microphone to get? And yeah, I have recommendations on microphones and I have recommendation. It depends on how you want to do it. But you've got to have the room set up. So I've got some cheapy foams stapled to my walls. I've got my cupboard door open with my clothes in it because that absorbs sound. I've got carpet and rugs on the floor because that absorbs sound. Whereas a lot of people do it out of the kitchen. So they have their laptop in their kitchen and they've got tiles and they've got concrete or granite bench tops. They've got windows everywhere and the sound bounces and you get this echo. So it's about the room. So they're the three key things. As a bonus, fourth one, it's a bonus for the Trinity, look down the barrel of the camera. So if you can do those three things, and then the fourth being look down the barrel of the camera, probably one of the most expensive bits of, no, it's actually not the most expensive, but the most useful bit of technology is a Post-it note where you can just write, look here, and stick it under the camera to remind yourself to look here down the barrel of the camera because it's the eye contact. Now, if I'm looking at you, I'm over here, and so I've lost my eye contact. But here I'm looking at you. You're over down in the corner over there, and I can't quite see you. But it doesn't matter. And that's a new skill. I talk about getting better. You've got to be able to look down the barrel of the camera and have no reaction from an audience and still be full of energy and love and joy and happiness. And isn't it great, even though I've got no idea what's going on for you? So they would be the basic four things that you really need to attack first. And then everything else is just a bonus on top.
Wow, so many fabulous tips there. And for anybody that's interested, the grey thing you can see behind me is actually that absorbing sound absorber. So it's quite expensive, but I use it for doing the online training programs because exactly that. If you're wanting to do things professionally, you have to invest in, the professional tools and equipment. But it can be as easy as buying, those secondhand rugs, whatever it is to absorb the sound. And just, I think even starting with that awareness that in something like the kitchen, so this is my spare room with, all of my filming equipment, and you could see the light earlier. So all of the equipment is in here and there's the curtains to absorb the sound and all of those things that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, if you're just doing team meetings or you're presenting to, your whole organisation, these are the things that can help you look like you're presenting, and the sound is great, the lighting is great, and the fourth one, of looking down the lens of the camera so that people feel like that you're still talking to them directly, even though there might be thousands of people out there, that they're still engaging with you because they literally see your eyes staring at them.
Correct.
That's great tips. And out of all of that, what do you think is the future for as we go back to hybrid? Do you think that people still really need to learn these skills? Because sometimes they might go, oh, well, actually, we're going to go back and see everybody in the office, so we don't necessarily need to have these skills. But I would say that you do. You actually need to keep developing, like you're suggesting, these skills so that you become masterful in person and online.
Yeah. And there really are two completely different skill sets. There's a bit of a crossover, but seriously, the things that you do presenting while standing in front of a camera is very different to what you do on stage. And I've seen some big name speakers who I can tell are great on stage, put them in front of a camera, and they're not. They just aren't. And the clients are not happy. I've had a couple of clients who have had big issues with some big names because they just haven't been up to standard. And so there's a few things that you can do. There's some people like, you know what, I'm not into technology and I charge enough. So it's like, I'm just going to pay a studio that just does it. And I'll have a studio with teleprompters and screens galore, and I'll just do that. Works a treat, and if the client wants to pay for it, fantastic. Hybrid, oh man, Hybrid, to me, is Frankenstein's monster. It takes the worst of both worlds and shoves them together. You can do hybrid incredibly well, and it costs a fortune because the sound is one of the biggest issues, and inclusiveness is a big issue. I've seen hybrid try to be done on a smaller scale event, and what happens is anyone who's there in person, there's no energy because there's not enough people. Anyone who's there online gets ignored because the focus is on all the people that are in the room. You really are running two different events. So my suggestion to people would be quite simple, and that is when in doubt, go online. When you've got any questions at all, go online. Online is the most risk-averse approach. Yes, you've got technology that can go wrong, but it is so much easier and more inclusive. One of the things that's been fantastic about online presenting is the inclusive nature. Like, we can put up instant captions. We can have people who in the past couldn't travel for whatever reason, be it a physical disability or some whatever reason, that they can now be part of this and join in and be part of it. So it is a very inclusive approach. But it is a different skill set. And so, as I said at the very beginning, get better. And it just talks, and the only way to get better is to do it. You can learn stuff, which is great, but you've got to do it. And I think that speaks volumes to be able to do that. I think where we're at, particularly here in Australia, is the state open? Is it closed? Is it open? Is it closed? So I know, for example, Perth is doing live events at the moment, doing quite a few of them and doing really well, but only people from Western Australia can go. Like any other state's pretty much come. And the thing is, if you do, all of a sudden, bang, the borders are shut. You can't leave. Or if you do leave, you've got to spend 2 weeks and it's like, they're big risks. Whereas going online, and I've said to some of my clients who are talking about hybrid, saying, go fully online. If you do it fully online, everyone's equal. It's so intimate. Like, for people who are watching right now, I'm staring into your eyes. You and I are getting intimately acquainted. Whereas if I'm in a room with 400 people, the people in the back, I'm really not paying any attention to. I can see the front couple of rows, and I'll be dancing around on stage, but I'm not paying any attention. Whereas here, you can put a chat in the chat box, and I can pick it up. You can make some different comments, and I can respond to it. So I find online is far more intimate. I'm a big advocate for it. And face-to-face has a different energy and is so wonderful as well. So for me personally, I think it's going to be quite some time before we get these massive events like thousands of people. You might get some smaller face-to-face training stuff, but the hybrid version of that is going to be horrible because you won't have the technology to support it. So I would do intimate face-to-face and small numbers and big distances to stay safe. But get events online. That's what my focus is.
And some great insights there, and thanks for sharing about your thoughts. The other thing that struck me around that inclusivity, exactly that, people that live distances or have some form of disability or whatever, it actually, having things online means that everybody is kind of on that equal playing field. You just can watch it on your phone. Technology makes it so much simpler.
Yeah. And that's one of the benefits of COVID. It really has catapulted our use of online technology to a level we could not have done without it. And the reason for it is, for example, geographically in Australia, we have a huge country with a small population scattered around. I hosted an online awards event for a medium-sized company, and afterwards they said, we will never do face-to-face awards again because we were able to get 95% of our staff to this award, and in the past we were lucky to get 30. For an hour, we had 95% of our staff all celebrating, all laughing, all playing along and enjoying the experience from the comfort of their own home or their office or wherever they were. And so it's like there are so many barriers that get removed. Other training companies have just made massive increases in their revenues because some of their clients, once they were forced online, said, actually, this is really good. So now that you've done this office, and this office, we're opening up the country. So, yeah, and Jonathan is making some comments there about how digital uptake and adaptation, we've done more in the last 20 months than what was planned for the next 5 years. So many companies have had their IT infrastructure just faster. Places where they said, no, we don't have any money for new laptops, went out and bought a ton of new laptops. And we can do more and more with less and less on the technology. I know I've got some good technology, but I don't use it. And I'm trying to use less because I want it to be easy. And I think that's really important.
And that's so true. Like, even if you think about it, we're in our spare rooms, and so we're using what's available. And I think that that's one of the key messages from today. In improving, it's just going for it, and warts and all doing it like today's show, and doing it from wherever you can. The other interesting thing, I was with a government client the other day, and what was interesting was exactly that inclusiveness. They have, thousands, probably about 10,000 staff across all of New South Wales. And their yearly conference would be, you'd apply to your manager and then they'd select maybe 200 people across the state. Yeah. So they try and be inclusive and, ration out the tickets, etc. Online, everybody from the 10,000 people can come to this online event. And I was again struck by how much more of a level playing field it meant that everybody was hearing the information throughout the organisation at the same time. And so it gave, access to information and insights about what the organisation was going to be doing that people probably didn't have access to before. And again, they probably will not go back to having it in person for exactly those reasons, that suddenly they can actually invite everybody that works for them. Everybody will turn up to find out what's happening in the organisation. And if they went back to in person, they'd have to go back to being discriminatory in a sense, which, because you've only got limited tickets and limited budget, and for the price, the amount of money that they must also be saving from hotel rooms and all of the on costs of having people come together in one certain space.
Yeah, very much so. It's AGMs are another reason that online can do really well. Where they have to book out the arts centre and have sandwiches for everyone. Now it's just like, hey, we're doing the AGM. It's click this link, and every shareholder can go. And so there's no environmental cost of the pollution of the aeroplanes and the cars and the whatever. The less sheets being washed. So there's so many good reasons. Yes, we're using more electricity, right? But we're using less of so much other stuff. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it. And the thing also is with the technology that we use, people often say to me, "Oh, what's the best webcam to get?" And my answer is always, "Well, it depends." But can I tell you that one of the best bits of technology for online work is your phone? And the camera is magnificent, and it's very easy to set it up as a webcam if you want to join a conversation, or just record some really good footage using the camera. A lot of video editors are dirt cheap, if not free. And so you can create some really good video content, nice short little snippets that is easily to consume, be it a promotion for the AGM coming up, be it promoting your business, be it a content that you want to put on social media, be it you want to actually have a conversation with someone. You can do it essentially with your phone and get really good quality output there, versus going, I've got to hire a $50,000 camera and a studio and my lorks are lordy. You can do some really good stuff very, very simply. And I think that that's what's another great thing about the technology.
It's so true, and we could go down the technology path today as well, because I think it's been such a leveler. It's leveled the playing field. You and I can now do what was only accessible to specialists with specialist technology and expertise with specialist equipment and all of that. But just quickly, I'm actually watching the live counter as opposed to the real time. So apologies to those that are actually looking at the real time and going, she's gone over 1 o'clock. So I'm still going to keep doing this as a half-hour show. So Warwick, what advice, if you were looking and talking to your younger self, what advice would you give your younger self?
Keep having funky hairstyles, because it's all going to fall out and you're stuffed. But apart from that, look, I don't know, because I've got to be honest, my younger self probably wouldn't listen to me. But here's the message that I'll give my current self, and that is just believe in yourself more, try more things, fail faster. We have the capacity to do amazing things with what we have. And I'm such a huge believer in getting online events happening and just really steering online. My business, my plan is to keep doing online events and just operating out of my global headquarters, because I am now a global business. I've been doing stuff in Russia, the US, Spain, Singapore, New Zealand, that's international, and, all out of here. And it's like, and I don't have to travel. I'll probably travel into Melbourne. I've got a few gigs coming up where they want me to go into a studio in the city, which is fine. But I love travel, but I want to do it for fun. And I think, I don't feel safe traveling international at the moment, even if I could. So I think that it is just get started and really embrace virtual. It's uncomfortable to start with, and then over time it becomes habitual. It's just easy. It's what you do, and it's the way it's done.
Fabulous. And we're just about at time. So how can people, if they want to get in touch with you and get more support and advice, or even fabulously hire you for an event to be their MC or their event manager and host, how can they get hold of you, Warwick?
Well, if you put me back to the big screen where we're side by side, and I'll put a little funky thing at the bottom there for everyone. I can't see it very well. It says onlinepresenterpro.com/get7keys. So that's something that I've got, and I'll wherever we are, I'll come back to the chat. It's onlinepresenterpro.com/get7keys. So there's 7 keys or 7 things. 7. I love it. The screen changes. This is great. We're learning as we go.
I was trying to make you bigger and you made you smaller.
Yeah, so hang on here. We can do this. Look, I put it up there. There we go. Look at that. So for me, it's like if you go there's 7 different keys about going online, and there's a 20-minute video and a companion PDF. It's a gift. It's a freebie. And online there's actually more than 7. So check that out. And then you can reach out to me at my name, Warwick. Just Google Warwick Merry. You'll find me. And my name's spelt there in the bottom box. So check that out and track me down. So get 7 keys. That's the best way to get some goodies and have a bit of fun.
Fabulous, thank you. And it's such a generous gift. I was checking it out myself earlier today, Warwick. So I'll just spell it out. So it's WARWICK, and then Merry as in Merry Christmas for those that are listening in.
Merry as in Merry Christmas.
And it's been a very merry show today, warts and all, doing this through a different technology. So thank you to all the viewers for bearing with us, and thank you so much. Thank you so much, Warwick, for I will put us back up to bigger, but yeah, just awesome. to finish off for today. So thank you.
What fun it's been exploring together and doing new stuff. Thanks everyone for joining us. I see Trish, Jonathan, and Deborah have jumped on, made a few comments. So thank you so much for being here. And Michelle, thank you so much for having me.
It's been fabulous. And to all the regular guests who are watching again this week, thank you so much for being a part of this next evolution of the online journey of the Mindset Michelle TV show. So thank you, Warwick, for being such a fabulous guest today. And thank you all for watching. And until next week, from my heart to your heart, be great, be fabulous, and be yourselves. And of course, I now don't actually know how to end this. Oh, there's a button that says end stream.
End stream. That's always the big red button is always the winner.
No, it's actually greyed out like the rest of them, which is why it's been lots of fun. But until next week, everybody, goodbye.